I'm not asking for advice. I'm writing this down because I need to hear myself say it out loud. At 5:03 a.m., a man in a navy jacket with my company's logo knocked on my apartment door and told me not to go into work. He didn't give a reason. He didn't blink much, either. He just said, "Not today, Nate. Do me a favor. Stay home." Then he looked over my shoulder like he expected someone else to answer for me. I asked if there was an incident. He said, "Just don't." That was all. No alarms, no email, just a knock and a sentence that felt heavier than it sounded. I stood in the kitchen afterward, phone in my palm, and the fridge humming like it had an opinion. My uniform shirt was already laid out on the chair. Habit had me checking the weather, the traffic camera by our south gate, the company app. Everything looked normal. No alerts, no power outages. If you've ever worked around dangerous systems, high-pressure steam, chilled water loops, chemical storage, you know the difference between panic and procedure. This didn't feel like either. It felt like silence. I texted Jason first. He's the only person I'd call a friend there. The kind you can switch a motor starter with at 2 a.m. without talking much. "You up?" No read. Green bubble. I sent a second. "Security at my door. Says don't come in. You hear anything?" Nothing. I stared at the typing indicator that wasn't there and took my coffee black for once. By 6:10, I'd convinced myself it was a drill, or a bad night for the overnight guard who'd gotten spooked by a sensor fault. I told myself I'd drive by, sit on the street, make my own call. I'm a maintenance supervisor. My job is not guessing, it's checking. So I put the shirt on, grabbed my badge, and headed out. The lot outside my building still had last night's rain pooled in the low spots. The sky was the color of primer. I kept thinking about the guard's eyes. Not afraid exactly, but asking me to choose. It's a 20-minute drive to the facility if the lights favor you. They did. I passed the usual landmarks. The pallet yard with the leaning fence. The diner that oversalts everything. The strip of offices with motivational banners no one inside believes. When I turned onto our road, I slowed automatically. We're set back from the street behind an embankment and a line of scrub oaks. No smoke, no sirens. The flag was up. The digital sign by the gate still scrolled our sanitized slogan about tomorrow safer than today. What wasn't normal? 2 security trucks parked at odd angles just inside the fence, like the drivers weren't sure how long they'd stay. The south gate arm was down, but the pedestrian turnstiles were powered off, dark rectangles instead of green or red. A guard I didn't recognize stood next to a folding table with a clipboard. The morning shift usually drifts in between 6:30 and 7:15. Some of them were already there, collecting in small, confused knots. In the gravel strip, where everybody stands to smoke when they say they don't smoke. I didn't pull into the lot. I parked across the street behind a delivery van and watched. People held their badges the way you hold a plane ticket when your flight number keeps changing. I saw Carla from receiving step up to the table, say something, then step back with her hands open, like she'd finished a magic trick no one clapped for. A few minutes later, Hector from Utilities arrived on his motorcycle, killed the engine, and took his helmet off, very slowly, as if he could restart the day by not rushing it. He waved at me without really seeing me. I didn't wave back. At 6:49, my phone buzzed with a company-wide email. Temporary access interruption due to systems upgrade. Please stand by for further instruction. We never do upgrades at shift change. We never do upgrades without a calendar invite. That includes 3 layers of managers who say circle back as a verb. I replied all kidding and then deleted the draft because there are moments when humor feels like tapping on glass underwater. I got out and leaned against my truck. The air smelled faintly like wet cardboard. No hint of ammonia, no burn, no sweet chemical notes that mean you're about to wear a respirator for the next 6 hours. A crow hopped along the fence and complained at a grasshopper. If there was an emergency, someone forgot to tell the wildlife. I tried Jason again. Nothing. I scrolled our crew group chat. Last message was from midnight. A meme about an air handler that screams when the fire pump test starts. I typed, "Anyone getting in?" The three dots came from Paul, then vanished. Came back. Vanished. He finally sent, "They're saying, wait." I asked, "Who's they?" He didn't answer. By 7:15, the line at the table looked like airport security without the bins, everyone holding onto their shoes because they didn't trust where they'd end up. Two men in suits walked along the inside of the fence with clipboards. They weren't the kind of suits who help. They were the kind who watch help happen. One of them pointed toward the admin building and the gatehouse at the same time, like he was directing traffic in a movie. My coffee sat heavy. I don't get nervous often. Maintenance work beats that habit out of you. But there's a specific kind of unease when a place designed to be loud in emergencies stays quiet. I thought about the guard at my door. I thought about the way he said my name like a favor he was spending. At 7:32, a second email. All non-essential personnel. Please remain off-site until noon. We don't use non-essential. HR does. Operations calls everyone essential because pumps don't care about job titles. I check my badge against the reader on the pedestrian gate anyway because rituals are calming. Nothing. No beep, no red, no green, like swiping a card against a loaf of bread. I went back to the truck and called dispatch on the internal line. It rang, then went to a recording that wasn't ours. A clean woman's voice thanking me for my call and reminding me that our office hours are 8 to 4:30, Monday through Friday. It was Thursday. It was 7:41. We don't forward to a voicemail tree during active shifts. We are the tree. Two more cars pulled up hard and stopped poorly. A silver SUV with tinted windows that shouldn't be tinted, and a black sedan without a plate bracket in the front. Our CEO drives a ceramic gray electric thing that he insists is the smart compromise. I didn't see it. I did see a third-party vendor van ghost by the back entrance like it belonged there. We don't book contractors without greasing a schedule with too many initials. None of those initials were on my calendar. An older guard I knew, Frank, ex-Air Force, with the posture of a man who learned to stand in formations, walked the fence line and pretended to check the mesh. He drifted close enough to talk without moving his mouth. "Heard from you this morning," I said without looking at him. "Wasn't me," he said, also not looking at me. "But listen to whoever it was." He kept walking. It's a strange feeling when the people who enforce rules hint that the rules aren't the point today. I texted my sister to tell her I might be late to dinner if this turned into an all-day mess. She replied with a photo of her kid's dinosaur drawing and a heart. I tried to let that reset my pulse. It helped for a minute. At 8:20, the smokers had smoked themselves out of cigarettes and opinions. People started leaving without saying it out loud. We don't like being told to do nothing. We're better at wrenches than waiting. Carla drove off. Hector put his helmet back on and sat there with the visor down like a closed door. I stayed. The longer I stayed, the more it felt like if I left, I'd miss the one thing that would make this make sense. A delivery truck approached the loading dock and idled. No one signaled. The driver leaned out and shrugged at the closed bay door. After a minute, he gave up and looped around, tires crunching the same gravel everyone else had questioned with their feet. The suits went inside. The table stayed. The word temporary kept doing too much work in my head. I walked the sidewalk along the fence to see the admin side. Through the glass, I could see the lobby lights. Our receptionist wasn't there. The visitor iPad sat dark. A plant in the corner looked like no one had watered it this week. On the second floor, a shadow moved, too fast to clock, and then a shade snapped down like someone remembered transparency is optional. I stood there long enough to feel ridiculous. I almost drove home. I almost texted Jason a third time. I almost called HR, which is like calling a weather app to ask why it's raining. Instead, I watched the gatehouse clock tick toward 9 and told myself I'd leave at 9:30 if nothing changed. At 9:12, something did, but not what I wanted. A man I'd never seen walked out of admin holding a stack of white envelopes. He handed them to Frank like they were invitations. Frank didn't open one. He tucked them under his arm and went back to walking. When he reached the small door where the cleaning crew usually enters, he slipped inside. I tried dispatch again. Same message. I tried my manager. Straight to voicemail. The kind of straight to voicemail that means the phone is powered off, not busy. I tried Jason one more time, then stared at the unread marker like it owed me money. At 9:45, the silver SUV left. At 10:03, an unmarked box truck rolled through the west gate that we only open for large equipment. A guard scanned it in with a handheld. The driver never rolled his window down all the way. The truck's logo had been peeled off. You could still see the rectangle of cleaner paint. I don't know when suspicion turned into dread. Maybe it was the way the sun took the chill off the morning and made everything too clear. Maybe it was the crow shutting up for the first time. Maybe it was the realization that my timeline for temporary had passed, and nothing had moved except the kind of people who move things you don't talk about. I kept telling myself there are logical explanations. I kept running out of them. At 10:37, my phone buzzed with a calendar invite titled Brief Conversation. The sender was HR, one of the general inboxes they use when they want to sound friendly and remove people at scale. The location was virtual. The time was 12:15. There was no agenda. There was a note. Appreciate your flexibility. I stared at that sentence long enough for it to feel personal. I clicked, maybe. 10 seconds later, my badge access notification pinged. Temporary suspension due to system sync. No action required. I'm not a dramatic man. I'm the one who labels bins and replaces gaskets before they fail. But there's a point where small signals add up to one message. I realized I wasn't being told to stay safe. I was being kept away. I sat back in the cab, rolled the window down, and let the warm air turn stale. I thought about the knock. I thought about the way the guard didn't blink. I thought about the two words he didn't say, why and how. The parking lot had thinned. The table was still there. The clock moved like it wasn't carrying anything heavy. At 11:42, my phone lit up with a number I knew too well, and I understood this wasn't an emergency at all. It was a cleanup. I answered the HR call in my truck, engine off, hands cold on the steering wheel. The woman's voice on the other end was too bright for noon. Hi, Nathan. Thanks for being available on such short notice. We just need to discuss a few administrative updates regarding your department. Her tone was the corporate version of anesthesia, pleasant enough to make you forget you're about to lose something. Am I in trouble? I asked. Oh, no, nothing like that, she said quickly. But we do need to complete a few formalities. Could you join a quick video meeting in 10 minutes? She didn't wait for my answer before sending the link. I sat there staring at my own reflection in the phone screen. The kind of face that doesn't belong in a formalities meeting. I'd seen this dance before. People vanish after meetings like that. One day they're on your maintenance route. The next, their name tag disappears and their locker smells like cleaning solvent. At 12:01, I tapped the link. My camera stayed off. 3 faces appeared on the screen. The HR woman, Lauren from corporate, the one with a smile that never reached her eyes, a man from legal I'd only seen at Christmas parties, and my direct supervisor, Tom, looking like he hadn't slept or wanted to. Lauren started, Nathan, we value your contribution over the past 8 years. However, due to an internal review of compliance procedures, we're making some structural changes in facilities. I almost laughed. Structural changes? I run maintenance, not marketing. Tom opened his mouth but didn't make it far. Lauren slid a document onto the shared screen. We're asking you to sign this voluntary separation form. You'll receive 12 weeks' pay and a neutral reference. It's a standard process in light of recent events. What events? I asked. The silence that followed was thick. Legal cleared his throat. There was a breach of confidential information related to safety reports. One of your team members distributed internal documentation externally. You're not under investigation. This is simply precautionary. Jason, I said before they did. The HR woman's smile flickered. We can't comment on specific employees. I leaned closer to the screen. Is he okay? No answer. Tom's eyes moved like he was reading an invisible cue card. Nathan, we just need your signature today so payroll can process. I cut him off. You expect me to sign away my job because someone else told the truth about a leak? Lauren's voice cooled. That's not the language we'd use. No, you'd call it compliance. Tom rubbed his forehead. Nate, please, just take the package. It's better this way. For who? Nobody answered. The call ended with a soft pop of polite termination. I sat there for a long minute, then looked at the facility gates again. The folding table was gone now, replaced by a single security truck, idling with its lights off. Frank was nowhere in sight. I got out and crossed the street, holding my badge like proof of life. The reader at the turnstile blinked red once, then dead again. A new guard stepped out of the booth. Younger, shaved head, blank face. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave the property. I work here, I said. He didn't even glance at the badge. Not today, you don't. The phrasing landed like déjà vu. I drove home with the air conditioning off and the radio silent. The world outside my windshield looked perfectly normal, and that made it worse. I kept replaying Jason's last message from the night before. You ever wonder what happens if we stop pretending it's fine? I'd left it on read, figuring it was one of his late-night rants about upper management. By 2 p.m., my phone buzzed again, this time from a blocked number. A voicemail dropped in, no transcript. I listened, static for the first few seconds. Then a man's whisper. They think it's just him. Don't correct them. Click. My skin went cold. I pulled up the employee directory. Jason's name was already gone. His email bounced back. Recipient not found. That's when I started searching the local news, the police blotters, anything. Nothing. No accidents, no arrests, just silence. I thought about driving to his place, but something in that voicemail, don't correct them, stopped me. Someone wanted the narrative clean. If I showed up asking questions, I'd become a footnote. At 3 p.m., Tom texted me from his personal phone. Do not come back here until I tell you. They're making lists. I typed, who's they? He didn't answer. By 4, a courier van pulled into my driveway. The driver handed me a manila envelope, unsigned, unmarked except for a return address from corporate HQ. Inside, my final paycheck, the same voluntary resignation form, and a non-disclosure agreement with my name already filled in. No signature line for them, only for me. There was also a single sticky note attached. You're lucky. Don't make us rethink that. I stood in my kitchen, the same spot where the morning began, and realized I was no longer an employee. I was a liability they hadn't neutralized yet. I poured a drink and didn't touch it. My phone vibrated again, another blocked number. I let it ring. Then again. Third time, I picked up. Jason, I said. No reply. Just breathing. Then a whisper. They're wiping everything. Lockers, files, cameras. Tell my sister. The line died. I froze, staring at my reflection in the dark window. By sunset, my access card was permanently deactivated. My company inbox deleted. My insurance canceled. The only thing left was Jason's truck, still sitting in the facility's parking lot when I drove past on my way home. Dust on the hood, a jacket on the passenger seat, keys gone, and that's when it hit me. Whatever was happening inside that building, I wasn't just a bystander. I was supposed to be in there with him. But that was just the beginning. That night, I parked a mile away from the facility and walked the rest under a dead streetlight sky. My boots made no sound on the asphalt, the kind of quiet that makes you hear your own pulse. I wasn't doing this for revenge, not yet. I just wanted to know why a man like Jason, who never missed a shift, who could quote OSHA codes like a priest quoting scripture, had vanished like a faulty line in an old blueprint. The facility loomed ahead, dark except for the admin wing and the faint glow of sodium lamps over the loading dock. Corporate liked calling this place secure, but I built half the access systems myself. I knew where the blind spots were. I also knew how to slip past them. At the south fence, a service gate sat chained, padlocked, but not alarmed. I disabled that loop months ago after it kept tripping during storms. No one ever fixed it. I slid through, careful to keep my flashlight covered with my palm. Inside, the air smelled of coolant and steel dust. My breath came out in small ghosts. Half the overhead lights were off. The silence wasn't peace. It was absence, the kind you hear after people leave in a hurry. I passed through the maintenance hallway, the one lined with old framed safety awards. My name was on 3 of them. I didn't feel proud. I felt stupid. Jason's locker sat at the far end, door slightly open. A yellow tag hung from the handle. Locked for audit. I pulled it anyway. It wasn't locked. Inside, empty except for a folded piece of paper taped to the back wall. I peeled it off carefully. 2 words, written in pencil. South Server. My stomach turned cold. The South Server room was restricted, even to me. Environmental monitoring, data archives, everything that could prove or erase something. I headed there, moving fast, but not running. Every motion sensor that should have beeped stayed quiet. Someone had powered them down. That meant someone was inside. I reached the end of the corridor and peeked around the corner. The door was open slightly, and light spilled across the tiles like a wound. I waited, listened. Voices low and clipped. Male, maybe 2. Get the drives wiped by midnight. What about the incident report? Already deleted. Nobody outside knows he filed it. I took a slow breath, heart hammering. One of the men stepped into view, back turned. Black jacket, corporate ID reversed on his belt clip. Not security, legal or risk management. The kind that talks about mitigation strategies while the body's still warm. He walked out carrying a small black case, the kind that fits a hard drive array. When he was gone, I slipped in. The room buzzed softly with fans. Racks of servers blinked in rhythmic patience. On the desk, a monitor showed a log window. Multiple deletions, timestamps from today, all by admin 02. I scrolled fast. Incident 4A, storage tank B, reported by J. Lang. Leakage risk, deleted. Video file, Bay 7. Night shift, 10:12. Deleted. Security report, 7D. Deleted. I found the local backup folder. Hidden, but not gone. I plugged in the thumb drive from my pocket, habit from years of pulling data for maintenance logs, and dragged the hidden files over. 8 GB, 12 GB, 19 GB. Then I saw one file that froze me. CCTV for 1012 MP4. Timestamp, 3:14 a.m. last night. I clicked. Grainy footage filled the screen. Jason in the bay, safety vest half zipped, clipboard in hand. He was pointing at something off screen, arguing with 2 men. One of them shoved him once, hard. Jason stumbled back, hand up. Then the feed cut to static. I backed up the video to my drive and yanked the USB. That's when I heard the door click. Turn around? The voice was low, measured, not angry, just inevitable. I turned. Frank stood there, same guard who'd warned me not to go in that morning, but this time his hand was on his radio. Frank, he shook his head. You shouldn't be here. You knew, I said. You knew something happened to him. I knew enough to tell you to stay home, he said quietly. They're scrubbing everything tonight. Cameras, records, the whole place. You need to go. I have proof. I held up the drive. His eyes flicked to it, then go before they realize it's missing. What about you? He half smiled, the kind of tired smile that belongs to someone who's already chosen their side. I've been on borrowed time since I opened my mouth this morning. We heard footsteps down the corridor. 2 sets, fast. He moved aside. Out the back, now. I didn't argue. I slipped past the server racks, through the side exit, down the narrow hallway that led to the tool crib. My chest burned. My hands shook. At the loading bay, I ducked behind the old compressor unit as the voices passed. He's not here. Check the north wing. When it was clear, I ran, through the gate, across the street. to the truck that looked suddenly too small for everything I was carrying. I slammed the door, shoved the USB into the glove box, and sat there until my heartbeat caught up with me. Somewhere inside, metal clanged, a door shut hard, and then silence, the kind that means something's gone wrong. I drove home with the headlights off until I hit the main road. My phone buzzed once, a single text from an unknown number. "You weren't there?" "Good." I didn't reply. I couldn't. Because that night, I stopped being the quiet guy fixing pipes. I became the only witness left. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the dark with the flash drive in my hand, feeling its weight like a live thing. Every instinct I had, the ones that kept me alive through boilers, solvents, confined spaces, told me to bury it, forget it, move on. But there's a difference between fear and surrender. Fear keeps you sharp. Surrender gets you erased. By dawn, I'd made a decision. Not to fight them directly. I wasn't suicidal, but to make sure what I knew couldn't be buried again. At 7:20 a.m., I parked outside a 24-hour diner, ordered coffee, and opened my laptop. No work VPN, no personal cloud. I used a burner account I'd created years ago to sell old tools online. The files opened fine. The video, the deleted reports, the timestamp logs. Enough to make the company's PR department choke. I zipped them into one encrypted folder and sent it to a journalist I'd read for years, a woman who'd exposed a military contractor's chemical spill cover-up in 2019. Her contact form used a secure upload link. I didn't write a message, just the subject line, "The leak you missed." Then I got in my truck, paid for the coffee, and drove nowhere in particular for hours. By Wednesday, the first article hit. Whistleblower missing after safety scandal at Cryotech Systems. They didn't use Jason's last name yet, but the details were too specific. The leaked documents, my documents, were quoted directly. The article named violations, deleted audits, unexplained personnel terminations. By Friday morning, the company shut down its social media. The CEO posted a vague apology statement that sounded like it was written by a lawyer having a panic attack. That afternoon, my phone rang. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. The transcription said, "Nathan, this is Lauren from HR. We'd like to discuss a possible rehire package. Your skills are..." I deleted it mid-sentence. Weeks passed. Investigators moved in. Federal, not local. The gates I used to walk through were replaced with crime scene tape. My coworkers called me in whispers, their numbers vanishing one by one. The company stopped paying severances, claiming legal review. One evening, I drove by the facility. The sign was gone. The building sat hollow, windows black, a for lease banner slapped across the front, like a bandage over a scar. Jason's truck was gone too. I parked across the street and killed the engine. The night air smelled of rain and rust. I sat there until the lights from passing cars faded, thinking about how easily a man can be deleted when no one's watching. Then my phone buzzed. An email. No sender listed. The subject line, "He'd have thanked you." No attachment, no signature. I didn't need one. Months later, the article broke again, this time on national news. Cryotech executives indicted on fraud and negligence charges. The anchor's voice was smooth, detached, professional. But when she said video evidence provided anonymously, I felt my pulse slow for the first time in months. They'd tried to spin it as one bad actor, then two. Then they ran out of names to blame. The shareholders sued. The brand collapsed. Justice didn't roar. It exhaled. These days, I keep my hands busy. I took contract work fixing HVAC systems for small clinics, where the stakes are pipes and not people. My apartment smells like clean metal and coffee. I sleep better mostly. Sometimes around dawn, I still wake up expecting a knock, the kind that changes your life. But it never comes. I drive by the old site sometimes. It's an empty lot now, fenced off with a redevelopment project coming soon signs. They'll build condos there. Families will walk their dogs, never knowing what used to hum beneath the concrete. And that's fine. Some stories don't need an audience, they just need an ending. I sit in my truck, watching the sunrise slide across the chain link fence, and I think about Jason, about Frank, about everyone who stayed quiet because silence seemed safer. Then I start the engine, and for the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm driving towards something instead of away from it. At 5 a.m. that morning, someone told me not to go in. I didn't, and that's how I finally got out.